Welcome to the Big Biz Show. Taking care of business. You want fast-talking, hard-hitting discussions on business and finance? Maybe with a barroom slant and some really salty peanuts? We're not counting calories. We're counting cash. Before we get to the man with the financial plan, meet the money team. Costa, Mary, now Captain Finance himself, Sully.
Hey, they're live from the Loft 100 studios in sunny San Diego, California. Big Biz Show's on the air. Great to have you along. Mike Costa has fled the building. A few people in suits showed up at the front. Now he's gone. I think we're happy about that because me and Mary Bird Godwin are here, along with the day trader Quattro.
Hey.
Quattro.
What's up, boys? Good to see you today. I want to go right into Jennifer Ernst, who is the co-founder and CEO of Tivic Health. And last time we visited with them, they were at their facilities, which was really exciting.
Yeah, that was cool.
Because you got to see a company that's about to launch a drug into the world that their late stage immunotherapeutics company that's dealing with radiation and radiation exposure in terms of a therapy, and it's called Entrolimod. And she's here once again. That was good stuff, Jennifer, last time. We'd love to see that when you were in the lab or the manufacturing facility. That was really, I mean, that must be for you, like for when you sat down and founded this company. Like you're right there at the 5-yard line right now. Does that feel good being in there and knowing how close you are to having this thing affect the world?
It is. It really is. And as you may recall, we licensed in a technology earlier this year. So I'm not sure that when I founded the company, I quite had the perspective on how much impact this could have and how quickly we got there. But yeah, being in what you saw us in last time was a process development lab in San Antonio.
Yeah.
Getting to see the proteins, literally the drug, the piece that makes the drug, the effective part of the drug, coming off the bioreactors, being able to see how they're doing the measurements, showing where the protein, the protein and the protein weight. It was that was a very cool, it's a very cool place to be.
For people who've not seen you before, but have just seen some of the interviews in the past, remind folks about what the therapy does and who the target is right now.
Right. So we have a drug that treats the damage from radiation or chemotherapy. So the radiation effects basically destroy bone marrow. They destroy the GI tract. And the drug that we have, Entrolimod, it sits next to a category that's about a $7 billion a year category right now that's used in oncology and used for acute radiation syndrome. So we've been talking with the Defense Department, with BARDA. In fact, in January, we have another meeting coming up with BARDA to talk about potential stockpiling of this drug, specifically in the case of a national disaster where nuclear treatment is needed immediately. And that's going to lead us actually into the big announcement we made last week about San Antonio. So the drug itself treats radiation damage, also has some benefits, has been shown to have benefits as a preventative measure. So initially for the military as a countermeasure, medical countermeasure, and then also we're looking to move this into the oncology space as a treatment potentially for something that can be used before radiation in order to prevent the damage that cancer patients often experience or the side effects of treatment.
Yeah, that's exactly what my question was going to be actually, Jennifer, was that people, I hear the effects of radiation are just like you mentioned, so terrible on GI tract and different things. So this Entrolimod would be something you would take on your first day of treatment or even maybe before to prevent those things from happening.
Right. So as we start going into this year, we'll be going into the clinical trials for the oncology and the advanced cancer applications. So far the drug has primarily been demonstrated as a post-radiation exposure because that's as a military countermeasure. You don't know when a nuclear attack or a nuclear accident is going to happen.
Right.
However, there has been some work already done on it showing a preventative benefit, a prophylactic benefit. So that is another area that we're going to be looking to start up studies in neutropenia and the related areas in advanced cancer to help develop a preventative treatment, so to help prevent the damage. Again, that'll be the second wave of the studies that are coming up.
Jennifer, how did this come about? How did you and your team from the very beginning come up with this? Obviously, success in business. Always find a need and fill it. But how did this come front and center to you?
Well, the honest answer is I can't take credit for that. The original drug came out of Cleveland Clinic. It was a response to needs of the National Defense Agency, and a company developed it. Unfortunately, the company hit some rough spots. We ended up being able to acquire the drug at the very, very, very late stages, acquire the rights to further develop and market the drug. That came about in February. And then we began our meetings with the defense agencies, very receptive to having a US-based company. And then last week we made a huge announcement, which was that we have acquired that site that you saw in last time. We have actually acquired that site as part of our arsenal now.
Wow. Well, and also, not only does it opportunity for your drug, but it also gives you revenue opportunities as a company. I mean, that's a whole other funnel for you in terms of revenue and earnings, right?
Exactly. So there's the earnings that can come off of the new site itself. We'll be creating what's called a CDMO. It's actually the manufacturing operations. One of the things we found when we went out to look for sites, when initially went shopping, I guess, for sites, is that the queue time at some of the players, it can be 2 years for a drug company to get into a point where they can be doing phase 2, phase 1 clinical trials. So we've now created an internal CDMO that will accelerate our ability to move Entrolimod forward. It's accelerating our ability to move Entrolimod forward. It's giving us a chance to accelerate a second drug that's already in the pipeline called Entalasta, that we expect to follow on the heels of the first drug of Entrolimod. And then it creates 3 to 8 additional revenue stream opportunities because we have all of the testing procedure, the testing, the analytics, the bioreactors in place for both microbial, and eventually we'll be turning on a mammalian site as well.
Hey, Jennifer, going forward, and as much as you can tell us for Q1, what are the steps now to commercialization from where we are right now? I know every quarter you've got a milestone to hit, right?
Yeah, well, the biggest milestone coming up for us would be the BARDA meeting, because we are meeting with both BARDA, that's the Biologic Advanced Research and Development Agency. It's the U.S. government entity that's responsible for protecting U.S. citizens. Mm-hmm. So they make most of the decisions, purchasing decisions about drugs that go into the national stockpile. So we have that meeting coming up in January. Okay. That meeting is also usually hosted with the FDA, so they can help the FDA understand their needs, explore and discuss if emergency use authorizations are appropriate or under what conditions, and actually outline the very specific pathway that the FDA will help support to get those drugs to market.
Are you going to, do you as a CEO focus on the biggest customer or all customers? Because right now you've got a U.S. customer, obviously, to stockpile but then you've got this military application that could go international. And oftentimes, it's the velocity of cash flow that you want to run towards, right? What's going to get us so fast, especially after you guys have to, so many years of having to raise capital, and now you're here. How do you focus on what you're going to concentrate on in terms of revenue?
So I'd love to, as a CEO, to say, we just take them. We can really focus on the top one. You have to keep your attention on all of it because it's going to be moving. Yeah. So that includes building up the business development and the functions at the microbial site. Fortunately, the chief operating officer and president of biopharma that you met last time has stood up multiple plants. I mean, this is totally in his wheelhouse, which is great. And then the revenue opportunities with the U.S. government and the revenue. Yeah,
when you get that PO, that's going to be a big day when that purchase order comes from the U.S. government. Which is why it's so smart that you got the acquisition. And Jennifer, thank you so much. I appreciate it. Jennifer Ernst, of course, Tivic Health, TIVC.
I think of her every time I drive to San Onofre.
When you go past it in your power plant. Use some of that in the glove box. Big Biz Show returns in a minute. Stand by.
I'm Mary Burt Godwin, and you are watching Business Focus. We're coming to you right here from Loft 100 Studios in Carlsbad, California. I am joined by Jess Kennedy, co-founder of Beeline Holdings, Inc. So nice to have you, Jess. We've been hearing and talking a lot to the other co-founder, Nick.
Yes.
A lot about this company, and I'm glad to have some time to just one-on-one get some info. It'll be interesting to hear your perspective on everything as well. We always hear Nick.
Awesome.
So I'm super glad to talk to you. But first, so Beeline Holdings is a fintech mortgage lender, essentially.
Yep.
But can you we've heard a lot from Nick, but just talk to us top down, essentially, of what you guys do and who you help and what Beeline is.
Sure. So when we started Beeline in 2019, our real goal was to modernize the home buying experience, right? Anybody who's bought a home, refinanced a home, really understands that it's a very painful process.
Painful and long.
Long, exactly.
Yes.
Filled with a lot of paperwork, people asking you multiple times for the same thing. And it just feels super, super painful for everybody. Whereas if you go buy a car or get really any other financial product, you can do it from your phone, or it tends to be a lot easier and a lot faster. So, we really were looking at this space. We kind of had lived our whole life in the title industry, which is sort of mortgage services adjacent. Mm-hmm. And we were like, we could really do this better with some really good technology and applying technology in the right places. So that was the sort of the ethos of how we started.
It seems like was just meeting where we're at with everything else, with the 21st century. It's like
That's right.
Everything is now at the touch of a button on our phones, pretty quick. And I think you're kind of gearing towards Gen Zs, millennials, because they've grown up with everything at their fingertips.
Absolutely, with phones in their pockets, right? And, the modern mortgage financial product does not meet that person where they're at, like you said, with really any other financial product that they have.
Right. In a couple different ways, which we'll get into, but you've said a couple things. One is that it started in 2019.
Yeah.
So how did COVID... Were you, gearing up and going all cylinders, and all of a sudden, the world stops? But, were people buying, selling? What was that like during that time?
That's a really great question. So we had started in 2019, but really launched the whole company live to the public in 2020. And so I remember us moving into our office in January of 2020, only to have the office shut down in March of 2020. Wow. So it was really starting a business, but also like starting from a remote environment with a whole new group of people that we had just hired and hadn't worked with before. But the mortgage industry actually really took off because the Fed lowered interest rates practically to zero at that time. So people were getting 2% mortgages, 3% mortgages, and it was quite busy, and we were doing great. Actually, I feel like our online platform really spoke to that moment because people were able to do everything online. You didn't have to show up in person.
In their soft pants.
That's right, exactly, from their couch, right?
Yeah.
And so it kind of met the moment super, super well. But it was hectic trying to run a business in those conditions.
Yeah. Now, okay, so it speaks to these younger generations for the ease and the technology, but also because of your non-QM, non-qualified, right, mortgage lenders.
Yes.
That part of your business model is really exciting and something new. So talk to us about that a little bit.
Sure. So we really started doing this in late 2021 when we realized that interest rates were going to be hiked at these historic rates, which is what we saw from late 21 through really 23, right? The Fed sort of did this historic increase over, 2 years basically. And we said, well, what mortgage products can really meet people where they're at that isn't just the conventional 30-year mortgage that everyone sort of thinks of, right, when they think of buying a home or refinancing. And so Nick, our CEO, has this amazing sixth sense of realizing what is going to be really relevant to come. And so he sort of had the idea of doing this. And we started doing debt service coverage ratio loans and bank statement loans in that non-QM bucket, and really found that there's this large cohort of people that this really spoke to, right? So you have property investors who are using that debt service coverage ratio loan in order to expand their portfolio or start a property portfolio. And it's great because it doesn't look at their independent income from their work. It looks at what is the rental income of that property. And does that rental income cover all those expenses of principal, interest, taxes, insurance? And if it does, you're able to get a loan based on all of that. And it makes sense, right? If the property is cash flowing, you should be able to get a loan based on the cash flow.
And then also, isn't there, this whole concept of the gig economy, which I think that phrase really became a thing because of COVID and then after COVID.
Yeah.
Because people had been laid off, and then all of a sudden they're like, I need to piece together 4 different jobs and work freelance 4 different ways, which does not lend itself well, no pun intended, to getting those mortgages. So isn't that a need that you guys filled as well?
Absolutely. That's where a bank statement loan is really great, because it really looks at the person's incoming deposits and outgoing withdrawals and basically says, like, do they cash flow themselves? Instead of just looking at their taxes or W-2s that won't exist in those situations, or 1099s. And so, yeah, it allows someone who earns income differently to be able to qualify. And it's not that they don't earn income or aren't bankable or worthy of a loan. They just earn income in a different way.
It's different, yeah.
And so you're right, that whole time period really took off with people being self-employed in a gig economy, and these mortgage products help meet those people where they're at.
So I want to go back in time a little bit to your, I was reading a little bit about you, that you went to law school in Florida, I believe. So talk to me about how you got started in this. Do you specify in real estate law?
I did, which is funny because I hated property as a class in law school. As my least favorite, and if someone had told me this is what I would be doing, I would have laughed in their face. But I started out as a real estate finance lawyer. Did that for about 7 years.
So how did you get into it after not loving that class? What was the thing that made you go, I think I want to do this?
Well, I didn't want to. I feel like I had to. It was 2008, 2009, and our economy had sort of imploded in on itself. So at that time, you just sort of took the job that was available to you.
Right.
And I got myself squeezed into this real estate finance role, and I ran with it.
Perfect.
Because that's what was available. And I ended up really finding my niche in that.
Well, what's cool too is now you can use that expertise and knowledge that you have to be doing all of this, starting a whole new trend, a whole new industry, really.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's funny because, I always talk, especially to other women about this, where they're looking at like, hey, how do I grow my career? And really it's about walking through whatever those open doors are for you, right? Like not saying, hey, this didn't exactly fit into what I did in school, or, I haven't done that before. It's really meeting the challenge that comes to you. And so I just tried to walk through every open door that I saw.
I love that. Okay, now tell me what you guys are looking forward to in 2026.
Ooh, 2026. We're really looking forward to our product expansion at Beeline. I know that Nick has very excitedly been talking about Beeline Equity.
Yes.
And that's going to be a really massive product, I think, for us this year.
And that's part of the ratio, the fractional owning, correct?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
It's a fractional sale of equity. So many people have lots of equity tied up in their homes and have a hard time getting to it if they can't qualify for traditional or even non-QM mortgages. Maybe they're retired, maybe they don't earn income anymore, but they've got lots of equity tied up in their homes, and they need to be able to access that in order to pay bills or maybe invest in something else, or whatever that person needs to do. But these products are great for that because they don't sort of look at the person as someone to lend money to, because it's not a loan.
Right.
It is a true sale of equity in that person's property.
This is exciting stuff, especially because I have 2 teenagers that are going to be, wanting to buy a home in the next, 5, 10, 20 years, so whatever it is available to them. But thank you so much for chatting with me, Jess. I'm so happy to have you here in studio.
Thank you.
Thank you all for watching at home. This is Mary Burke Godwin with Business Focus, and we'll talk to you soon.
Loft 100 Studios, The Big Biz Show, and our affiliates and our hosts are not registered investment advisors or broker-dealers.
Our show hosts make no commitment that the purchase of securities of companies profiled or otherwise mentioned in our programming
are suitable or advisable for any person, or that an investment in such securities will be profitable in general.
Given the nature of the company's profile and the lack of an active trading market for the securities, investing is highly speculative and carries a certain high degree of risk.
We profile selected publicly traded and privately held companies on our program.
Most of these companies that we profile have provided compensation to Loft 100 Studios and its hosts for the profile coverage.
From time to time, we sell shares of the companies profiled in the open market that we receive as compensation for coverage of client companies.
But never sell stocks if we are speaking about interviewing or covering a public company who has paid compensation.
Specific questions on compensation can be obtained by contacting producer@salientgroup.com.
Listeners should verify all claims and do their own due diligence before investing in any securities mentioned on this program.
Investing in securities is speculative and carries a high degree of risk.
We encourage our investors to invest carefully and read the investor information available at the websites on the
Securities and Exchange Commission at sec.gov and or the Financial Industry Regulatory Authority, FINRA, at www.finra.org.
I like it.
Big Biz Show. We come to you live from the Loft 100 studios here in sunny Southern California. Wherever you're watching, wherever you're listening, we always appreciate you being along for the ride. Day Trader, Quartet, DTQ, they are always along for the ride. Best in the business, no less than self-taught. Back here at the bar, it's Costa, Mary Godwin, and Sully.
Good to see you guys today. 175 countries and all the ships at sea, 80 million homes. That is 40% of the band Sullivan. We will be in Philly and Virginia this weekend. I don't know the venues, but you can go to sullivanmusic.com. And still chasing.
Did you just add new members? Because I saw a video the other day, and I was like,
no, that's the horn section for No Doubt.
Oh, okay.
So they'll just happen to be in Philly. They're going to join us this weekend.
That's
so awesome. You got Gabriel McNair and Steven, I can't remember his last name, but the other two guys with the...
Yeah.
Stephen Bradley, huh?
Okay.
Yeah, they're going to be our horn section this weekend. All right. Nick Liuzza is here. Nick is CEO of Beeline Holdings. You know what's interesting is when we first started talking to you, I thought, okay, here's a company that's finally going to be criteria specific to an affinity group that really doesn't understand the mortgage business. And I realized you're for everybody now. It's not just millennial, Gen X, Gen Y, Gen Z.
Yeah.
And what you're doing is you're taking the world of AI, you're taking the world of technology, and you're turning the traditional mortgage business and real estate business on its side.
Yeah.
Because why not? Because why do we have to use the old model when the new model is going to make us all money and save us all money?
Yeah, why not get a decision in 7 minutes? Why not feel certain and get a quote that you know is going to be accurate, that's not going to change in 1 or 2 minutes, right? Yeah. Why not be able to close a loan in 14 days? Right. Why not use AI in order to make the whole experience much better than what it is currently out there?
What's going to happen? I think a lot of people, just because they didn't go to Econ 101, but when we have these mortgage rate cuts, it doesn't necessarily affect. I beg your pardon. When we have the Fed cut, it doesn't necessarily affect the mortgage rate right away because mortgage follows the long bond, not the short interest window.
Correct.
But it's usually an open-air indicator to where things are going. Do you think that we're getting back in business in terms of mortgages and affecting an economy in a positive way versus a negative way as they have the last few years?
I think we're getting there. I don't think we're quite there yet. I think this recent rate cut was a good indication. We'll see what happens in 2026. I think we'll probably have 2 rate cuts in 2026. And once that 10-year gets below 4 and gets in the 3.8 range and rates drop below 6, then I think we're getting to sort of like a very strong mortgage market.
When me and Mike were doing radio, we talked about this last week. We were doing endorsements. We had Sleep Train mattresses, but there was a mortgage guy. And I remember he says, if your rate's not in the 2s, it's time to refinance.
Yeah.
Well, those days are over.
Those days are over, right? But listen, a mortgage rate, below 6 is not a bad deal.
No, it's not.
Right? And
hey, listen, I'm here to tell you, there was a mortgage product out for a while for folks that were making above $200,000 a year. And that basically they said, you're either going to pay the government or you're going to pay interest. Who'd you rather pay? So don't be interest rate sensitive.
Yeah.
And that was a strategy because you could write off up to $1 million or something on your taxes in terms of mortgage interest. But talk about the differences between you guys once again and a traditional mortgage company.
Well, first of all, we're leveraging the blockchain, right, in order to get a better outcome for the consumers, right? And so that's one thing that we're doing, right? And so by leveraging the blockchain, our cost of capital is lower, and we're able to offer different products like Beeline Equity, right? The Beeline Equity product is a fractional sale of equity, which allows a consumer to sell a portion of his home to create equity, not a debt, not a loan, right? That you can use cash for whatever you want. And the criteria to qualify for something like that is very, very easy.
Are the days of credit default swaps over and fogging up a mirror to get a loan over? I mean, triple B paper versus, people, it's all A paper.
There's other paper now, right? And so, we do a lot of bank statement loans, right? I remember when my dad bought his first house, and this stuck with me. I was a little kid, and he was so proud to have that first home. He was so proud at 23 years old, right? And so the American dream is somewhat gone. The first-time home buyer is 40 years old now. That's
it's funny.
Old.
My daughter and her husband are in their early 30s and are actively seeking to buy a house.
Yeah.
But they're doctors, and the way they're paid, they are subcontractors.
Yeah.
So now they are depending once again on a bank statement loan. Why in the world do underwriters of mortgage companies insist on adjusted gross income versus what people are really making?
The large lenders are not offering bank statement loans. You can't go to Bank of America and get a bank statement loan. You cannot go to Rocket Mortgage and get a bank statement loan. They're going to deny you, right?
Because it doesn't say you're making enough money.
It doesn't fit in the box, right? A bank statement loan is the most common sense approach to a mortgage that I've ever heard before in my life. Because
you don't know how much money's coming in.
It's your ebbs and flows.
It's the argument I have is the same argument I have about EBITDA.
Yeah.
EBITDA is earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation. Okay, first of all, interest and taxes are real expenses.
Yeah.
That's real money coming out. So why are you counting your profit before you pay those things? On the other end of the spectrum, when you go, we are all in the business of tax avoidance, not tax evadance, tax avoidance. We want to write as much stuff off as we can.
Yeah.
Now, why do banks use the fact that I want to write off a charitable contribution or I want to write off a business trip to say, well, this is how much money you're really making? Is it just because they're so conservative still?
Exactly it. They're so conservative. They want to make sure that you don't default and they don't go into foreclosure because it's very expensive for them. So they take the most conservative approach that they possibly can, and they're dinging you for things.
And they're missing 40% of the market.
That's the reason why bank statement loans are becoming so popular. So are debt service coverage ratio loans becoming so popular too. Both of these loans, you're going to see them double in size in 2026.
But if you dig down and look at your company, your default rates are not very high at all.
No.
So obviously you're doing something right, because if you were taking too risky loans, your default rates would be way.
No, we wouldn't be in business. We're taking a common sense approach to the business.
Yeah. What's for you? Talk about this fractional ownership thing, because I think that's really interesting.
Look, I mean, we love helping out, and helping the consumer as much as we can. We're helping out the younger consumer, and the fractional sale of equity, right? And I've said this before. Like Mick Jagger's 83 years old, right?
Yeah, right.
They're not slowing down. People are outliving their retirement, and what are you going to do if you outlive your retirement? And you need cash, right? You have to leverage your property at some point in time, and you don't want to sell it. You can't get a HELOC. You can't get a cash out refi.
That's right.
Enter Beeline Equity.
Yeah. Hey, talk about the press release yesterday. Big news. I mean, profitability is everything. It's not just revenue now. It's about profit.
Yeah. Look, I mean, we're taking a common sense approach to the business. Our lending entity was cash flow positive, not net income positive, but cash flow positive for the month of October. The whole company will be cash flow positive probably in February.
And home buying season's coming up.
And we're debt free.
Yeah.
We have no debt.
Yeah. Yeah, the cap stack looks good in this thing. What are you looking most forward to next year? Are you doing any acquisitions? Is there?
That's a 2027 initiative. Right now, we're trying to make Beeline a household name, and that's by doing transactions. We want to do as many transactions as we possibly can through our equity channel and through our other channels.
Nick Liuzza, the CEO of Beeline Holdings Incorporated. Ticker symbols BLNE. Nick is from New Orleans, but did not bring us beignets from Cafe Du Monde this time out. But we'll let him back on the show next time, in spite of that.
Nick, access the same loans the property tycoons use. Beeline, BLNE. We'll see you in a bit.
Loft 100 Studios, the Big Biz Show, and our affiliates and our hosts are not registered investment advisors or broker-dealers.
Our show hosts make no commitment that the purchase of securities of companies profiled or otherwise mentioned in our programming
are suitable or advisable for any person, or that an investment in such securities will be profitable in general.
Given the nature of the company's profile and the lack of an active trading market for the securities, investing is highly speculative and carries a certain high degree of risk.
We profile selected publicly traded and privately held companies on our program.
Most of these companies that we profile have provided compensation to Loft 100 Studios and its hosts for the profile coverage.
From time to time, we sell shares of the companies profiled in the open market that we receive as compensation for coverage of client companies.
But never sell stocks. If we are speaking about interviewing or covering a public company who has paid compensation.
Specific questions on compensation can be obtained by contacting producer@solientgroup.com.
Listeners should verify all claims and do their own due diligence before investing in any securities mentioned on this program.
Investing in securities is speculative and carries a high degree of risk.
We encourage our investors to invest carefully and read the investor information available at the websites on the
Securities and Exchange Commission at sec.gov and or the Financial Industry Regulatory Authority, FINRA, at www.finra.org.
I like it.
Hey, is that a rescue plane? Yeah, And this the vibe that raised us, made us, saved us. Love so strong that the hard times praised us. From base life roots to the freeway nights, we turn small rooms into launch pad flights. Yeah, this the vibe that raised us, made us, saved us. Love so strong that the hard times praised us. From base life roots to the freeway nights, we turn small rooms into launch pad flights. We begun surfing waves too low, made our own rules everywhere we go. Held tight to the truth that our parents declared. Anything is possible, the love stayed there. Now Rob's daughter ballin' on the end scene, Olay scene. Will's kids live dreams we never could have seen. This the vibe that raised us, made us, saved us. Love so strong that the hard times praised us. From base life roots to the freeway nights, we turn small rooms into launch pad flights.
Biz Show. Continuing for the Loft 100 studios here in Southern California. Hope everyone's having a great day. We certainly are, because you are along for the ride with us. They are too. Day Trader Quartet, DTQ. Back here at the bar, Costa, Miraber Godwin, and Sully.
Great to have you along today. 80 million TV homes strong, also an American Forces Network in 175 countries. Big Biz Show's on the air. And what you just saw there is Kelly Cardenas and the Vibe Room. Start right here in Loft 100 Studios.
I thought that looked familiar.
So great.
You guys have a great time that night?
It was so fun.
That looked like. So, what is the Vibe Room, Kelly? Before we get to what you do, what was that whole thing that people just saw?
It was a live version of the podcast. So we wanted to add music, live music to it, stand-up comedy, and interviews, and then the greatest networking that you could have.
Talk about your podcast, because I think that's really interesting what you guys are doing there. What it comes down to is you took a keynote speaking career, and now you're mass communicating with it.
Well, I wanted to take and make my heroes human, and I wanted to do that for my kids. So everyone that comes on, iconic person, whoever it is in sports or business or wherever, and they all give advice to my kids by name.
Okay.
I love that. Well, some people say don't meet your heroes. What is that like? What has that been like for you to meet them? Have you met any and you're like, oh yeah, I shouldn't have met you?
There was one, and it was years ago, but it wasn't on the podcast. But it's opened up so many great things. Like my son is a quarterback, and I had Brad Johnson, who won the Super Bowl with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and he gave advice. Maddox, if I was a quarterback, I would do this. And then I had the producer of True Lies on the podcast, and he gave advice to my daughter, who's in theater and wants to have an acting career. And I would do this. And those kind of things I just think are priceless.
Talk about what you call the rehumanization of service. What does that mean?
I think it's just getting the focus back on people. I mean, AI, I think, should be actual intelligence. And you can use it as a tool, right? Yeah. But the people are the thing that are the most important. And if you focus on people, you build the people, then the people will build the business, and then it makes it simple.
I like this concept of the Vibe Room being what happens when you leave. The residual is the word I'm trying to say. The effect that you have on people after you leave a workspace or an event or whatever it might be, what you're leaving them with, right?
Well, you can talk to that because you experienced it. What was the lingering feel after you experienced the Vibe?
I mean, it was electric. The feeling in here was definitely electric. It was the combination of everything that you talked about, where it was the frequency of the people, the band, the comedy, the energy of all the people in the room, and you lit up the room. So I think it was everything all combined that you left people with. So you practice what you preach, I would say.
Well, I've just been very fortunate to be around really cool people, and that's happened from happenstance. Even coming here to Loft 100 Studios, I found this online. I had no idea that I was walking into one of the greatest shows that in the country, but it happened to be in my hometown. And when it did, the Vibe Room takes all my circles that are so eclectic and gets to bring them together. And I think it creates magic.
You talk about transformation also on your podcast. Talk about, is there a specific transformation or just everybody? I mean, I think everyone needs transformation. Don't they? I think if you were to ask everybody, they would say, no, I'm just about perfect. I'm fine. I don't think you're going to find something like that. Talk about your transformation schedule.
I think the biggest thing is just to align your heart, your mind, and your skills. And, to take your belief system, your intention, and your actions and put them in line. And then people feel good around you when that happens. Mm-hmm. And then it doesn't matter your offer. It doesn't matter what you're selling. It doesn't matter the price. That all falls away because the people want to truly connect with you.
Your legacy, language, and the power of belief is kind of how you wrap this whole thing up in a bow. Talk about that.
Well, it's my parents. My parents gave me, my mom gave me 3 things. She said I was awesome, I was beautiful, and I could do anything. My pop said simply that you're the greatest, so act accordingly. And that was not only an impact on me, but it was a responsibility that because I was the greatest and because I felt that, and I knew that and I believed that, it was my responsibility to act according to that for the rest of my life.
Kelly Cardenas is CEO of Vibe Consulting website, Kelly Cardenas, CARDENAS.com. It's amazing that at one point in my life, my dad was the dumbest human being I'd ever met.
The older you get, the smarter they get.
And how incredible it is that I got older, he just got suddenly really smarter.
Oh, yeah.
It was awesome how that happens. I mean, is that the way it is for, it's got to be that way for 90% of kids, right?
Well, we resist it. My pops was very simple. I said it earlier, but it's that if you want to build a business, then you just build the people. If you build the people, you allow them to build the business, then everything becomes simple. I'm not that good at very many things, and you guys are the greatest at what you do. So if I allow you to do what you do and promote that, then I get a chance to be able to be around greatness. And if I'm around greatness, I become great just by being around.
Is what some of the surprises that you get? I mean, obviously we interview a lot of people on here over the years, but any surprises that you get from when you pull somebody out of the crowd, there's somebody else's hero, and now you get a chance to talk to them? And what's been some of the most transformational for you?
Well, actually, it happened here in Loft 100 Studios. So I had Joe Sib, who is amazing.
No.
He started heckling one of the guys in the front row. And he went at him hard.
For those you don't know, Joe Sib's a comedian.
Phenomenal.
Really funny comedian. So he was heckling a guy from the audience.
Well, he brought down the house, and Joe's energy was amazing. He was on point. He was going, and he started nailing this guy in the front row because he wasn't smiling. And it was funny to everybody. Little did he know who that guy was. So he gets done, he does his set, and he has to leave. I said, well, go, let me introduce you to the guy in the front. I walk him up, and right before he shakes his hand, I whispered in his ear, I want you to know that's Larry Namer, the founder of the E! Entertainment Network. And he almost pooped his pants. You know what I'm saying? So that kind of thing is, because you never know where someone's from, you never know where they're going, you never know where you'll meet up when they'll begin, so you got to make a friend out of everybody.
That's awesome.
You won him over by the end.
Kelly, what's your next event? People can come see you.
March 11th, actually, it's going to be here at the
here?
Vibe Room.
Yes.
I tell you.
Awesome.
Kelly Cardenas,
You
CEO.
can't tell who's going to be there.
I can't. You'll find out.
KellyCardenas.com. Thanks, buddy. Make sure to have you come back here well before that.
Beautiful stuff. All right, keep it right here. Much more to come with the Big Biz Show. Do not go anywhere.
What a show. Great to have you along today. 80-some million broadcast television homes in the U.S. carry Big Biz Show. Dan O'Toole is CEO and founder of a company called Arrive AI. They are publicly traded under the stock symbol ARAI. And it's interesting here because now we're entering into a world that we just started talking about just a few years ago. Now it's a reality. Talk about Arrive Point, because this is the stuff that we keep hearing about in the news. It's coming. And you guys are actually the bones behind this. Can you give us a clear explanation on what you guys are all about?
Yeah, just in its simplest form, Arrive AI is Mailbox 2.0. We're adding the element of autonomy to it. Anytime a robot, drone, unmanned vehicle accesses a mailbox, that's our patent. We beat Amazon by just 4 days, Postal Service by a couple weeks, and another company by 22 days. So this whole new paradigm of autonomous delivery is happening, and we're right at the center of that delivery universe.
The Jetsons are here. What we saw as kids is finally happening. So talk about, I remember driving around with a Thomas Brothers map guide.
Oh, yeah.
Under the seat of my car and looking up an address and having to match the 2 pages. Wouldn't it be neat if somebody put this in the car? And of course, now we have GPS. And it's by the way, I believe what you guys are doing, Dan, is going to be so pedestrian in the next 10 years that we're not going to know how we lived without you guys. But you guys are here at the on-ramp. Talk about the infrastructure on how to do that. Because if you really think about your patents, your IP, you guys are really paving the way for something that's going to change this world.
We really are. The notion of autonomous delivery and of every shipment starting from the ground or being delivered to the ground is not scalable. Right now, every day in the U.S., there's 1.7 million packages stolen. If you have this new autonomous delivery ecosystem happening, there's going to be a whole new industry of autonomous delivery theft. So what we're bringing to the equation is notifications, chain of custody, heated and cooled cargo area, return logistics. If you want to send something back, it's all app driven. You punch up your last purchases, pick the one you want to send back. It notifies Amazon, dispatches maybe UPS, drop that item in your Arrive Point, gets picked up seamlessly, goes back. You didn't have to print or label. You don't have to find a receipt. You get your money back. You don't have to go to Kohl's or Whole Foods.
This is much further along than the pizza pizza that we were supposed to get via the drone.
Yeah, I was just thinking about that. I was like, this is the time, but thinking about the drones that are delivering my pizza or my burritos. But
yeah, this is so. Can I ask you? I think the obvious question here is we start hearing about this, and the technology. Now that we're seeing self-driving cars and we're seeing self-driving Ubers, it was natural it's going to come. How do you deal with the air traffic? How does that done in a municipality? Like we broadcast out of San Diego and we broadcast all over the world and all over the country. But every city has sort of the same sort of guidelines around drones and such. And this has been a piece of this that I've never been able to figure out. Talk about that piece of the logistics dealing with air traffic control.
Yep. If you pulled up your iPhone and you said, show me the airplanes in the sky, you'd get a populated map of like tens of thousands.
Yeah, you can't even see the map, right?
Right. You can't see the map. It's totally saturated. The FAA is just formulating the new airspace. It's going to be at 400 feet instead of 40,000. But it's all in place already. It's happening. And that's one of the things that we're bringing to the table. We think that we're in a winner-take-all market, and we think that we're going to unlock the last 50% of all the value to be had through autonomous delivery. Right now, everyone has been thinking about their own end-to-end solution. They haven't thought about the macro of how many deliveries are coming and going to everybody each day. And so we think that we're going to go the way of the Tesla charging network. You had a GM charger, Ford, and now it's standardized. We are going to be that standard. You're not going to have 3 arrive points in front of a Homer business.
Right.
You need one product that's universal, platform agnostic, welcoming all shippers and deliverers.
So for you guys, I guess my question is this. I mean, first of all, it's super exciting. You've got to be proud as a CEO of a company like that. But where are we in the terms of when do we get to see this? When does Johnny Lunchbucket and Cindy CEO actually get to see this at work, in your opinion? Is this years away? Is it months away? Where are we at?
It's now very limited on a very limited basis, but months away in more of a scalable version that you'll start seeing roll out in Dallas and other spots that are kind of ground zero for autonomy in the U.S. I mean, autonomous delivery and pickup is happening throughout the world right now. Right. And, the reality is there's so many opportunities. We have to be very disciplined about which ones we execute on, just from a bandwidth standpoint.
I was going to say that because this has got an international implication too. You must know that. I mean, that's got to be a big revenue funnel, at least potentially once you have proof of concept here. Correct?
Yeah, one of the things we say every day is there's more we don't know about what we're going to do than we do.
Yeah, I bet.
There's so many use cases. I mean, I could blow you away with some of the concepts out there. It's crazy.
So NVIDIA is a component of our economy now because NVIDIA tends up being an opener indicator for what's coming up next in AI. And NVIDIA really runs anything AI in this world right now. So that's why we pay so much attention to NVIDIA's earnings. It gives us direction on where the economy is going. You guys have a collaboration with NVIDIA. That's very important for this. Can I explain that a little bit?
Yeah, thank you so much for bringing that up. We were invited just very recently to join the NVIDIA Connect program. They recognized us as a huge opportunity, and we think we represent what could be one of their biggest user for a product they have called the Thor card. It's a processing card that we're going to have ubiquitous in our units. I highly applaud NVIDIA for recognizing us for what we are and the potential. I think that says a lot about NVIDIA, frankly, to have their finger on the pulse of what's going on out here and to find a little company like us with so much upside. It's quite validating, and can't tell you how exciting it is.
I can imagine. We have to have you back. You have to have you back on the air because I'm going to have a million questions about this. But I have to say, as an investor, what is the exit strategy for you? Because I can see Amazon making a phone call tomorrow, or NVIDIA as well. And the minute you say NVIDIA, do you try to keep this to yourself and you guys do an acquisition strategy, or do you think somebody's going to lop you up? Because you guys are at the right place at the right time.
Thank you so much. We're at the intersection of AI and autonomy, so it is a great place to be. I will say this, we are a We the People story. 5,000 pre-public investors saw the same vision that I did before we even went public. I'm the largest shareholder. I could have sold out 100 times and been great, but I always look at everything through the prism of the last guy that put a dime into this company. And if he's going to be happy, I'm going to be ecstatic. And I don't want to undervalue, people don't invest to trade dollars. I want to build huge asset value for everybody that saw the same vision I did and took a risk on me and my company. And we want to reward those people. I always say I want those to be the best investment that they ever made. And I have a kind of a whisper wish that in the next 5 years, we either get acquired by the largest company in the world or we become one of the largest companies in the world.
I agree with you. I think that bifurcation is going to be tough for you. You're going to have to decide whether you want to have somebody write you a check or you're going to start writing checks, because one way or the other, you're at the tip of the spear and you're right there. Man, you got to come back with us, Dan. I really appreciate you coming on air. His name is Dan O'Toole, CEO and founder, Arrive AI. They're publicly traded, ARAI. You go to arriveai.com. Be back with us. All right, that does it for us. Thanks for joining us. Big Biz Show, bigbizshow.com. Find us everywhere. We'll see you tomorrow.